Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 8 of season 4 of Dexter called Scar Tissue. And I gotta say, this is another pretty darn good episode of the series. A lot of what's been going on with Deb recently since the season kicked off, it really comes to a head here. Some stuff with the brain surgeon comes to a head. And I'm not actually totally indifferent to Quinn this episode. I mean, even something interesting happens with Masuka. So, yeah, there's a lot of going on with this episode. And since we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Deb, Dexter, and Dr. Vogel this time around, let's kind of clear off the more minor characters first of all. Again, we get another scene with Deb kind of having a bonding session with Elway. I kind of can't help but wonder if maybe they're just sort of looking to well, okay, let me put it this way. Quinn's in a relationship with Jamie. Elway actually seems like a pretty decent guy. If they are going for, as crazy as it might seem on a show like this, a happy ending on Dexter, then Deb and Quinn with, good productive relationships with well, we know Jamie's a good person. We just still don't know very much about Elway, but he seems to be an okay guy. So if that's where they're going with this, then, well, it has been said that the audiences will forgive an awful lot in a story if it contains a happy ending. And that has been proven to be true many, many times over the years. So, while it certainly would be a little, I don't even want to say cliche, but a little unexpected for Dexter to go out on a happy note like that, why not? Anyway, so I don't really have a lot to say about Elway. The whole back and forth with Quinn and Jamie's relationship in regards to Deb, that's getting a little irksome. But it looks like they might have finally kind of also come to a head there. They maybe might have seemingly come to a place where Jamie is comfortable with where Quinn is in terms of his caring about Deb. Maybe. I think it's a little too early to say for sure. But, I'm hopeful because, frankly, I'm getting tired of that little plot already. So, anyway. Of course, this is Quinn we're talking about, so of course he can't go too long before he completely screws something up. And of course he chooses to pick a fight right after he's made Sergeant's exam. And Angel, of course, rightly reams him out for this. But still, it's just like, for the love of God, Quinn, do you never learn? But, that's the thing with Joey Quinn. He gets something good going along for a while, and then he does something stupid and screws it all up, and never really seems to learn from his mistakes. Well, okay, he's not, stealing money from crime scenes anymore. He kind of quit doing that a while ago. It's been a good long time since he had a sex with a suspect, or, a material witness in a case. He hasn't done that in a long time. Yeah, and I did like that Quinn kind of did point out to Batista that, hey, it's not like you've never beat up a guy for saying something bad about a woman that you cared about. And of course, that is completely true. Of course, and I have to say, Batista's comeback of saying, well, yeah, I hadn't just made Sergeant. Batista, you're a freaking cop, okay? You're not supposed to go around putting guys in the hospital because they say that your ex or whatever was going on with LaGuardia at the time might have boned her way to the top. I mean, seriously, that's not how civilized people act, and that's sure as heck not how cops are supposed to be acting. I mean, yeah, I kind of had a joke that I was going to go with there, but I ultimately decided it was, even for my standards, too inappropriate. So yes, folks, know that it was actually that bad. If even I decide something is too offensive for me to say, I'm pretty sure it's the sort of thing that can make, milk go sour and uh, grass to wither, skies to darken, goats to fall down dead, things like that. Anyway, we also get a subplot for Masuka, and this has been a long time since we got something like this. And the idea, first of all, I have to point out that, okay, maybe he was joking, but it seems very that Masuka was talking about, like, hey, send the chick back to my lab. By the way, I might be boning her back there shortly if things go my way. Okay, now this is Masuka we're talking about, so it's entirely possible he was joking, but the fact that he was offering up money to have them send the woman back there, which Miller took, yeah, man, that really is not the sort of thing that you should be saying with your lieutenant standing right next to you. I mean, I know Batista is your buddy and has been for a long time, but I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to be hooking up with chicks at the police station. I mean... But of course, it turns out that this woman thinks that Masuka might be her father. Now, I'm sure there are some people out there who are very upset that this woman is obviously played by a Caucasian actress. And, it is maybe not entirely unreasonable to think, well, why couldn't they have gotten a half Asian woman to play this particular character? Now, that said, I've met people who are part Asian, and seen people who are part Asian, and frankly, sometimes it is actually extremely hard to tell. If you've ever seen Brandon Lee and his sister, whose father was Bruce Lee and whose mother was a Caucasian lady, you have to look really closely at those two to see that they have some Asian ancestry. And these are people who are half Asian. I actually went to school in college. I knew a girl. Her grandmother had married a GI, an American GI, just after World War II. So she was a quarter Japanese. And again, you would never guess that this woman had a drop of Asian blood in her to look at her. And of course, sometimes the opposite is true. A teacher I had one time, her daughter married a Japanese guy. And I saw their daughter one time, and she looked like a 100% pure-blooded Asian girl. So sometimes very weird things can happen when folks of different ethnicities mix. And it really is not always obvious. And of course, there's for news examples of folks like Vin Diesel. To look at him, you would not know that Vin Diesel is half black. So, while it might seem a little off-putting, this is one that I'm willing to roll with. And ultimately, I have a feeling this is really just going to be a subplot for the rest of the season. So, I don't really think this is something that's worth really getting worked up over. Let me see. Man, I hate it when I can't read my own writing. Oh, wait, now I know what that says. Okay, so let's actually talk about the identity of the brain surgeon has been revealed. And it's A.J. Yates. Albert Yates, I believe they said is his full name. I don't really have a huge amount to say about him. I don't think they really developed this guy as well as they could have this episode, especially considering how important he is to what is going on. But the main thing with Yates is that he is, like many of the people that Dexter has dealt with over the years, a reflection of Dexter in some ways. And the main one here is that A.J. Yates, the brain surgeon, was willing to sacrifice his father to save his own skin, while Dexter would never have done that. He would never have sacrificed Deb to save himself. I mean, it's never even like killing Deb was never even a real thought in his head. And given the context of this episode, that's an enormously good point, to show us this reflection. It's a very nice stroke of storytelling, and I'll give the writers a lot of credit for doing that. They did that very well. But as I said, Yates himself otherwise is really not a terribly fleshed out character. For one thing, and this is just really more storytelling stuff that kind of got to me. Okay, I can understand why a guy like this might keep his house very secure with like security cameras and stuff. But it seems a little odd that he's just going to be sitting there in his basement when he's got some poor kidnapped woman tied up just a few feet away, apparently just watching his own empty upstairs. Dude, do you not like have the Sci-Fi Channel or the History Channel on that stuff? Because I'm thinking that watching your own empty living room would be really boring. Now, if Dexter had done something that had, tipped this guy off that he was up there, okay, I can see that he might have heard like an alarm or something, and he went over there and to check it out. But no, unless I'm remembering wrong, when we first see this guy, he's just sitting there in his chair watching this monitor of his own house that, for as far as he knows, is empty. That just makes absolutely no sense at all. And speaking of stuff that doesn't make sense, you notice when Dexter looks at the calendar and to check out they confirm that it's the guy's dad's birthday, it says July 2012 on the calendar, even though I'm assuming it is set currently in July of 2013. So yeah, somebody in the prop department really dropped the ball on that one. Let me see here. Yeah, I think that kind of covers everything that I had to say about everybody else. So let's kind of get going on. Let's get talking about what's going on with the three main characters this time around. And the big thing that's going on with Dexter here is what Dr. Vogel is saying to him about, and she's continuing this thing about how Dexter cannot possibly form these real emotional attachments with people, and that it always has to be something selfish with Dexter. It always has to be about what he needs from them. And for the majority of this episode, Dexter is seriously proving Dr. Vogel right. He refuses to let Deb out of his life, even if that might really be what's best for her. And so that really does make you wonder. And of course, on the flip side of that, Dr. Vogel is going and saying to Deb, basically, no matter what, the way Deb was looking at fantasizing about what things would have been like if she'd killed Dexter instead of LaGuerta. And Dr. Vogel says to her, no matter what, you have to admit to yourself that you would always choose Dexter. And Dr. Vogel is proven absolutely right by the end of this episode in regards to Deb, but he's also proven wrong in regards to Dexter, generally speaking. But here, Deb, upon the revelation that Dexter basically drove Harry to suicide, tries to kill Dexter. And then, as soon as she has a moment to really look at what she's done, she goes in and saves Dexter. So Dr. Vogel was right. Deb will always choose Dexter, no matter what. And now Deb is faced with this fact that is unquestionable. And the question from there becomes, how does Deb deal with this? Does she accept what Dr. Vogel is telling her, that she was a good person who had to make a horrible choice under terrible circumstances? Or, is she going to continue that descent and down that darker road? And is she going to be willing to let Dexter be part of her life? Or is she going to push him away again? And how will Dexter react to that? I mean, it's all really, really... it's all really big, heavy, heady stuff. And of course, this sort of makes it seem like Dexter is probably going to have to recant on that whole thing of cutting Dr. Vogel out of his life, and ditto for Deb, because, well, who in the name of God is going to be able to figure out what's going on with these two mentally at this point and do anything at all to help them? I mean, I think even Dexter and Deb would have to admit that they're not going to be able to fix their relationship by themselves. I mean, one of them just tried to kill the other. I mean, it is that great contradiction. Dexter could never hurt Deb, and Deb just tried to kill Dexter. It's a beautiful, chaotic, and emotionally horrible mess. And, well, what can you say? That's what Dexter is like when Dexter is at its best. And it certainly does leave you wanting more. Anyway, folks, that's all I got for you this time. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Till next time, take care and have a good one.